turn up.
What up is Marcus with Dynasty Football Dads, and we get the Sunday recap of all the different games here. I know you're probably seeing this Monday night, but I'm going to be going through each and every single detail. And if you want tickets to a Vikings game, stick around to the end of the video and I can let you know how that will happen, or at least how you get a chance. So, the first game we're going to go through, we already went through Tampa Bay and Dallas, and that was a pretty easy, expected game. The Chargers versus Washington, this video might be a little bit long, so you can skip along, and maybe somebody will put the what are those, the numbers of when you can skip to certain things. But thumbnails, not thumb points, whatever. Time points, timestamps, that's what they are. Timestamps. Maybe somebody puts timestamps on here. Well, this is the Chargers versus Washington, and this is a game that we kind of thought that was going to be a 40-ish point, maybe less. Justin Herbert, 31 for 47, 337, one touchdown, one interception. This is just not going to be the best game that he's going to have, and we kind of knew that going in, that he was potentially going to struggle. We knew that Keenan Allen was going to have a really good game, or at least that was our projection. 13 targets, 9 receptions, 100 yards. No touchdown for Keenan Allen, but a game that we kind of figured that was going to happen. Mike Williams showed 12 targets, 8 for 82 and a touchdown. Good job, Mike Williams. Will we keep that? I don't know. Jared Cook, 8 targets, 5 for 56. And I'm not just going to be sitting here reading stats. We're going to be going through a little bit of questions here. Who is going to be the wide receiver 3 of the Chargers? Who's the wide receiver 2 of the Chargers? Is it Mike Williams? Is it not? Guyton did have 5 targets, 3 for 49. But really, you go down through the list. Palmer had a catch. Hill had a catch. No one else really did much. Austin Eckler, though, he didn't really have any catches. I was looking, I was like, did he not have any catches? That's kind of weird for Austin Eckler. That's really weird for Austin Eckler. But he did have 15 attempts for 57 yards and a touchdown. Talking 3.8 average, nothing much there. But the running back 2, just to kind of note, the backup for Eckler, the role of last year, kind of Justin Jackson, went to Larry Roundtree. 8 rushes for 27 yards. So if you are backing up Austin Eckler in Dynasty, in redraft, Larry Roundtree is the name that I'm actually looking for right away. And then Washington side of the ball, Ryan Fitzpatrick, hip injury on the IR currently. We don't know how long that is out for, but I'm going to just say it's probably going to be half the year. But let's predict that. Well, let's just project that. Taylor Heinicke is going to be, he was a Viking. He was a Viking at one time for 11 for 15, 122 and a touchdown. What does this do? I think this increases the value of basically kind of an Antonio Gibson. I think Fitzpatrick is a guy that I don't know if he would have been a super good fit, but Taylor Heinicke I think will. He'll drop off a bunch to Antonio Gibson, and he had 20 rushes for 90 yards. No other rusher to really be considering. Patterson had 2 rushes, but if we look at targets, Gibson had 5 targets. He had 3 receptions for 18 yards. This is a game that really, I think, just shows that I think Gibson is going to be the 3-down running back, and he's going to be a stud this year. It's just how many catches will he get? If you give him 5 targets a game, you give him 45, 50 receptions, and he's going to be a top 8 running back probably this year, and maybe even he get into that top 5, definitely up there. This is a really good sign for Antonio Gibson. Logan Thomas had 3 for 30 and a touchdown. Not many targets. There's not many targets to really go around. There's only 21 pass attempts in this entire game, and they lost. So, Terry McLaurin, 4 catches for 62 yards. Again, going to have a better game. I think the Chargers defense is underrated. I was kind of wondering why the Chargers defense was just so down this year, and I was like, they have pretty good defense. So Seattle versus Indianapolis. We kind of go through. There's nothing else to go through Washington and nothing else to go through the Chargers there. But Seattle versus Indianapolis. What we're going to talk about here is Russell Wilson, the guy who I swear this is just this is a classic Russell Wilson line. 18 for 23, 254, and 4 touchdowns. 4 touchdowns on 23 attempts. 4 touchdowns on 23 attempts. That is freaking ridiculous. But it's also Russ. And then Chris Carson, 16 for 91. No other rusher to really note, at all. The backup is probably Rashad Penny, but that's all we got really there. Tyler Lockett, 5 targets, 4 catches, 100 yards. Same for Metcalf, 5 targets, 4 catches for 60 yards. He had a touchdown. Tyler Lockett had 2. Usually Tyler Lockett gets 3 when he blows up. I was actually a little disappointed he didn't get the third one. But something to note that Disley and Everett really split at the tight end position. I know Everett did have 2 catches for 20 yards and a touchdown, but Disley had 3 for 37. I think this is just going to be a mess until Gerald Everett, I think, will have a better second half, but Disley, we have to kind of see how this goes. Right now, if you're in redraft and stuff, Everett, I am not a big believer in this right now, because right now the snap percentage and stuff is just showing that it's going to be a 50-50 split, and I don't want half of a tight end in Seattle. I really don't. Carson Wentz had a pretty good game, 25 for 38, 251 and 2 touchdowns. Jonathan Taylor, 17 rushes for 56 yards. Nyheim Hines, 9 for 34. And then Carson Wentz even had a couple rushes in there as well. Not a great game for Jonathan Taylor. Maybe he just is kind of like the Yeti. Maybe he just starts off super slow and works himself into it. And Seattle's defense is not an amazing defense by any means. So that's a little tiny concerning. But then you go into the targets. He had 7 targets, 6 catches for 60 yards. So he had 24 total attempts. And I like to do the attempts and targets kind of together, because a target is worth quite a bit. And yes, a catch is even worth more, but I mean, he had 23 actual plays that he did, rushes and receptions, 24 total targets and attempts, if that makes sense. And then Nyheim Hines, 8 targets, 6 catches for 48 yards. So basically, Carson Wentz was just dump-off city. And Zach Pascal was the wide receiver 1 there, which is no surprise. Haha, just kidding. It just... Michael Pittman, 3 for 29. Paris Campbell, 1 for 24. This is... some tight ends that, I mean, Morley Cox had 2 targets. Jack Doyle had 3 catches for 21 yards. I am trusting no one. From Indianapolis's offense, unless his name is Jonathan Taylor, and in a flex play, PPR, Nyheim Hines at this point. That is including Michael Pittman. And I did some, I talked a month, I think it's probably 2 months back about, well, I think Michael Pittman will actually not be as good as he was last year. I think or not even as good as he was last year. I don't think the breakout's coming, which is kind of hard to say, because I hate being downers on people. But Steelers versus Bills. So again, not trusting any of those, any wide receiver or tight end in Indianapolis right now. The Pittsburgh Buffalo was a fun game, but also kind of a disappointing game. Like, I wanted this game to be a higher scoring game, but man, Pittsburgh's defense is just so good. So we're going to go with Pittsburgh, 18 for 32, Roethlisberger 188 and 1 touchdown, which is disappointing when it comes to, like, if you look at, okay, you got Juju, Claypool, and Deontay, and they all have to share 188 yards. That's pretty rough. I mean, Najee Harris, 16 rushes, 45 yards, not a great time. I mean, Claypool was the leading rusher for the longest time because he had 1 rush for 25 yards. Juju, 4 for 52. Claypool, 3 for 45. Deontay, 5 for 36. He got the touchdown. Pat Freiermuth, a target. Ebron. He was not LeBron. He was definitely not LeBron. He was 1 for 19. And James Washington for 2 for 10. What does this all mean in the realm of things? That this is, Buffalo has a good defense, and that they were going to try to do as much as they possibly. I mean, Deontay Johnson had 10 freaking targets, 10. So Deontay Johnson is the wide receiver 1 there, and Claypool is this upside. I believe he's the upside. Like, you're going to get these games like Lockett, where you're going to have 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. You're just going to have to deal with these games where he goes 3 for 45 and has a rush for 25 yards. Like, that's going to happen. Juju did have 8 targets, 4 for 52. He did have the most yardage, which Deontay had 5 for 36. That's just a 7.2 average. That's such a low ADOT, too. But he's almost used into... Deontay Johnson's kind of used in a little weird way. But in the orders that I want receivers right now, I want Claypool slightly ahead of Deontay, I believe. It's just... I want the big boom play out of Claypool. Deontay right below, but I flip back and forth, and then Juju's my easy third there. And Najee will have better games. Don't ditch out on Najee. He's still working up behind a horrible offensive line. They're still working it out. Josh Allen, 270 and a touchdown. 9 rushes for 44 yards. Not a great game, but not a bad game. It was just kind of like one of those, like, oh, he's gonna be a quarterback mid-2, and this kind of reminded me of a game he had like his first couple of years, where it was like, not amazing, but I mean, he had 17.2 fantasy points. It's what it is. Singletary, 11 rushes for 72 yards. I will be very interested. Zach Moss, healthy scratch. And I've talked a lot about how I'm not a Zach Moss believer. Do I believe in Devin Singletary is the question. And I don't believe necessarily in Devin Singletary, but if I compare the two, like, I would rather have Devin Singletary than Zach Moss at this point. That's just what I believe. I mean, when you have a guy that's healthy scratch right off the bat, and you have Matt Breida with 4 catches for 4 yards, or 4 rushes for 4 yards, that's a problem. Zach Moss has always been hurt. If I'm going to pick a running back that could be something, could be a running back 2 in the future here, that falls in the end zone a couple times, I'm going to be picking Devin Singletary just because I believe he still has, something in the tank. I think he doesn't. It's so hard to believe it. He doesn't necessarily pass the eye test a ton, but it's just like he's enough. He's enough for this year. Maybe next year, problems. Stephon Diggs, Cole Beasley, man, they're just 14, 13 targets respectively. Diggs, 9 for 69. Cole Beasley, 8 for 60. Emmanuel Sanders, 8 targets, 4 for 52. Emmanuel Sanders, there. And then Gabriel Davis, 2 for 40, but he had the touchdown. That really nice touchdown in the back of the end zone. So this kind of comes to the conclusion of, like, who's the wide receiver 2? Cole Beasley? Probably Cole Beasley. Like, this is why I said don't start your wide receiver 2 against Pittsburgh, because we don't know who it is, and I think it's going to be just kind of revolving. Whoever, it's going to be Diggs 1. He's going to have a lot of the target share. You might have Cole Beasley that gets more targets, but then you might have Gabriel Davis that might have big blow up. I mean, he was 20 average for yards, 20 yards per catch, and Cole Beasley had 7.5. So you might see Cole Beasley have 5 catches for 40 yards, and you might see Gabriel Davis have 4 catches for 80 yards next game. Or you might have Emmanuel Sanders, the guy who he seems like he just is never going to quit, and you might have him. He might be a wide receiver 2 one of these games. It's crazy. We are going to go with a game that I thought was the most surprising game in my opinion. And I told you, I thought this was going to be a high-scoring game. It was, for half the teams. This is Philly versus Atlanta. If we're going to talk about disappointments, we're going to talk a lot about Atlanta, but we're also going to talk a lot about Green Bay. But we're going to talk about why I don't think that's going to continue to happen. Jalen Hurts, 264 and 3 touchdowns. He just had an amazing game. And we kind of figured that. I told you he's going to do well. Devonte Smith's going to do well. And I said Rager's kind of this weird kind of wild card, like, hey, maybe he'll do something. And he had 6 for 49 and a touchdown. Goddard, 4 for 42 and a touchdown, so not bad. And Devonte Smith, 6 for 71 and a touchdown, the best rookie wide receiver of the day, in my opinion. Miles Sanders, 15 for 74. Hurts, 7 for 62. Kenneth Gamewell, 9 for 37, and he had the touchdown. This is just starting to reek of a little bit of a problem for Miles Sanders. And I'm somebody that even drafted and redraft. I drafted Miles Sanders, and I'm already, like, not in heavy panic mode, but, like, to have Kenneth Gamewell get 9 carries and Miles Sanders get 15 in the first week of a 6th round running back in Kenneth Gamewell, who I love Kenneth Gamewell. This is a problem because I think Kenneth Gamewell is actually somebody that is a 6th rounder that actually is talented. And if he doesn't opt out for the 2020 season, you're talking about maybe a 3rd rounder, maybe a 2nd rounder. You're talking about a guy that could have been something. He was literally the alpha to Antonio Gibson. This does concern me, does worry me. So if you're in Dynasty, this is maybe one of those times that you're like, okay, well, like, if Miles Sanders still has value, maybe I'm starting to think about, okay, what kind of offers I can start trading away Miles Sanders for. This is just because if you start seeing this turn into a Javonte Williams, Melvin Gordon share, which we'll talk about that here in a little bit, if we start seeing that, the value of Miles Sanders is going to continue to go down. What you can always hope for is Miles Sanders has a touchdown or 2 touchdown game next week, and that kind of saves his value. But really look at snap percentage and look at those carries, because that's going to be super important. Kenneth Gamewell did have also 3 targets, 2 catches, 6 yards in the receiving game. Ertz kind of 2 catches, 34 yards, not much. Miles Sanders did have 5 targets, 4 catches, 39 yards. So if you look at it, 20 basically attempts and targets together versus 12, which, I mean, that's getting up there. That's kind of starting to feel like this Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams. Aaron Jones did have 2 top 5 seasons, but you're talking about an Eagles offense that I don't think is as high powered as the Packers last year. All right, so let's go through the Falcons, the sad Falcons. So Matt Ryan, one of my favorite quarterbacks going into this for week 1, and so I just have to kind of take the big L on my forehead there on that one. 164 and 0 touchdowns. The leading rusher was, drumroll, Cordell Patterson. Wow, Cordell Patterson still alive. 7 rushes. He was a receiver in my day. He was a receiver a couple years ago, and now he's a rusher. 7 rushes for 54 yards. Mike Davis, 15 for 49, and that's pretty much it. They didn't really have anybody else rushing. If you were in redraft, an option is to pick up Cordell Patterson. Why? Because there is a world where Mike Davis either gets A, hurt, or B, they just go, this is a 50-50 split, or Cordell Patterson maybe will be used kind of as this kind of wild card, like kind of running back, wide receiver that will be utilized right around the red zone more, and maybe he'll get some of the touchdowns. They weren't even close to the red zone for me to talk about that, but maybe they will get close enough that we'll actually be able to talk about that. This is definitely one of those kind of like, hey, just as an idea. If you don't want to draft, Cordell Patterson could also be what he was the last million years and be nothing. Calvin Ridley, 5 for 51. Kyle Pitts did have 8 targets, so he did have 8 targets, 4 for 31. But also Hurst had 4 targets and 4 catches for 28 yards. Mike Davis had a bunch of targets. 6 targets, 3 for 23. Mike Davis, he'll have better games. I think he'll have better games. I think the whole Atlanta Falcons will have a better game. That was just a bad game by Atlanta. They're going to have better games. The Eagles played really well that game, but Atlanta did not play very well. Arizona versus Tennessee. Man, I think this is officially the longest video I've done. Or we're getting pretty close. We'll have it will be by the time we're officially done here. And I'm going to have to start, we're going right now with Monday Night Football. We're going to have to rewatch. Oh, by the way, if you guys want to know what the dang Vikings tickets are, we have 2 available tickets thanks to one of our Patreons, one of our subscribers that wants to give away 2 tickets to the October 10th game. October 10th. I will announce it again at the end of the video, but October 10th. So if you want to be a part of that game, we have a couple of other dads going, Dynasty dads. Post a comment in the comment box, and then I will directly reach out to you. And if you don't hear me reaching out to you, then you didn't get the tickets. All right, so Kyla Murray, 21 for 32, 289, 4 touchdowns in the air, one on the ground, 34.6 points. Man, he just feel like he's starting off like he did the beginning of last year, where he just started off crazy hot, and then you have Chase Edmonds, who had 16 rushes for 63 yards, and Edmonds 12 for 63, Connor 16 for 53. Told you James Conner was going to be week 1. He was going to start off with more rushes. We'll see if that continues. I said that James Conner was going to be the RB1. You could probably say that he was the RB1. I mean, I guess they both had the same amount of touches technically because Edmonds had 4 receptions. Hopkins, 2 touchdowns. Kirk, 2 touchdowns. Moore, 4 for 68. AJ Green, didn't do anything. Pretty much what we kind of thought. Kirk is one of these guys that will just kind of do this randomly, and you probably won't be able to see him for the next 3-4 weeks. So don't buy in Kirk. Ryan Tannehill, 212, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Just again, kind of a disappointing game against Arizona, who just Chandler Jones, 5 sacks in the first 3 quarters. Somebody, is that Taylor Lewan? Taylor Lewan? Why can I not say his name? Whatever. Is that Taylor? Can you block Chandler Jones? Can we get a tight end help over there? Do you need Johanu back? Derrick Henry, 17 for 58. The Yeti, it's not getting cold yet. Tannehill did kind of save his day because he did have the rushing touchdown. Not the only touchdown. They had 2 touchdowns. Sorry. He had 1 to A.J. Brown. But, yeah. So, the leading receiver was Rodgers. 4 for 62. Julio Jones, 3 for 29. I think everyone's going to have better games. So buy low on any Tennessee Titan. I think this is going to be a week 1. It's going to change around. So Jets versus Carolina. This is kind of a frustrating game because Corey Davis is somebody that I absolutely loved. I've loved him for the last I thought he was going to have a breakout year last year in Tennessee. I thought he was going to have a really good beta season to A.J. Brown. Kind of did, kind of didn't. And then I tried to trade for him in a lot of different leagues. And I tried to even get him in redraft, and I got sniped a couple times. And then right off the bat, 5 for 97 and 2 touchdowns. And now I realized that I will probably not have any shares of Corey Davis. I almost said Chris Davis. Chris Davis is, I believe, a Baltimore Oriole, or at least was. I'm not caught up in baseball yet. Corey Davis, 5 for 97, 2 touchdowns. Braxton Berrios, this son of a gun, he's like Adam Gase's favorite guy, but Adam Gase isn't there anymore. 5 for 51. And then Denzel Mims, 1 target, 1 catch, 40 yards. If you're in redraft, drop him. Michael Carter had 4 rushes for 6 yards. Like, what in the world? Ty Johnson, 4 for 15. And Tevin Coleman, 9 for 24. This sounds a lot like the Jets of last year, where they couldn't run the ball and no one was fantasy relevant. So is this going to happen again? We'll see. Zach Wilson, I mean, Carolina's bad defense, and they didn't do much against this defense. Elijah Moore did have 4 targets, but had -3 receiving yards. So he almost had as many negative receiving yards as he did targets. So one catch, -3 yards. Yeah, I think Corey Davis is somebody to sell a little bit, because this is kind of concerning when you have 7 of the 20 completions. You're talking about 35%, and that is concerning because that's not going to keep up. Sam Darnold, 279, 1. Christian McCaffrey does Christian McCaffrey things. I don't even need to talk about Christian McCaffrey. He's just amazing. Like 27.7 points, and he didn't even score a touchdown. Oh, McCaffrey. DJ Moore, still 6 for 80, no touchdown, but Robbie Anderson, 3 targets, 1 for 57 and 1. And Terrace Marshall, 3 for 26, but 6 targets. So it really went pretty much, of course, McCaffrey, wide receiver 1. Then it went DJ, Terrace, and Robbie. If Robbie gets put to wide receiver 4 on this team, I'm really, really worried about Robbie Anderson's long-term fantasy future. I'm thinking like this 1 for 57 and a touchdown is going to be more of what you're going to get, is these kind of big plays. And you're going to get Robbie Anderson of the Jets, kind of, and I don't like that. I really don't like that for Robbie Anderson. The Carolina concerns me a lot, because, again, you're going to have a lesser passer volume. Like, Tampa Bay might have 400 yards pretty much a game. You're going to have Carolina that's going to have these 200, 250s, and you're just going to have to figure out where that's going to go, and I just don't like playing with that type of fire. I don't like playing. That's just, the chances of having boom games are just not going to happen there. And so Carolina is a place that, if I have DJ Moore, I'm trying to trade him. If I have Robbie Anderson, I'm trying to trade him. If I have Terrace Marshall, I'm probably looking at other places at this point and saying, I'm out. Not fully out, but like I'm out, because unless one of them gets hurt, and that's something I hate to wish injuries upon somebody, but that's sometimes, and honestly, that's a lot of times what happens. I say get away from the team, and then somebody gets hurt, and then 2 of them become awesome because now they split 250 yards. Well, you still have Christian McCaffrey there, so you're going to need more. You're going to need some help, because Christian McCaffrey is the wide receiver 1 there. So anyways, Carolina is probably the biggest place where I'm getting rid of assets there. And I have assets. I have DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson in definitely in Dynasty, and I need to start making some trades out of that area. It's just hard because I've had DJ Moore for so long, and I've loved him for so long, and I feel like he's been always underrated for so long, and now it's like I think I might have to sell him. 49ers leading rusher Elijah Mitchell. Oh my goodness. I wish I could talk about this. Is week 1. It's an overreaction. But if this continues, I will say this feels really good because I was not a super big Trey Sermon lover. And if you go back to about a month and a half ago, I talked about the Raging Cajuns, Louisiana, Lafayette, Elijah Mitchell, and how I thought he could have been one of the new James Robinsons. And not just that case, I thought that him and Trey Sermon's talent level was not crazily different. Now, Elijah Mitchell could easily be because Raheem Mostert was actually playing. I don't know. Oh, I said low battery mode. We're still good though. It could be easily that Trey Sermon was a healthy scratch because Raheem Mostert was playing, and then now next week, Trey Sermon's RB1 on that team. But I am still going to hopefully stand strong that I think that Elijah Mitchell and Trey Sermon are somewhat close in talent. They're a couple rounds apart in the NFL drafting capital. And so you have to go with the draft capital with that big of a gap difference. But I think Elijah Mitchell is a actually sufficient running back that if if Shanahan believes in Elijah Mitchell, that this can continue. I love Elijah Mitchell. But do I think it's going to continue? He won't start out for 8 weeks. We know that. I think that this could be one of those things that you can't buy Elijah Mitchell now. Now you can't. But if you want to sell him to the Trey Sermon owner, I would definitely be okay with that. But just don't sell low. I would say that Elijah Mitchell has a chance, at least in this Shanahan offense, to be the worst case scenario is backup running back, because I don't think it's Jermichael Hasty. I think that you have Trey Sermon and now you have Elijah Mitchell being RB1 and RB2, and you're probably talking about 150-ish yards split between the two of them, and probably 25-30 carries split between two of them. So I really like Elijah Mitchell. I might try to buy some Elijah Mitchell, and it's not going to work. But Deebo Samuel, 12 targets, 9 for 189. Whew, Deebo, man, he was looking good. Kittle, 4 catches, 78 yards. Where is Brandon Ayuk? No Brandon Ayuk. Ugh, man, shucks. Brandon Ayuk will have better games, of course. Well, you can't do worse than zero targets, but I think Brandon Ayuk will be sufficient in fantasy. This is just not his game. I mean, everything went to Deebo. Everything. TJ Hawkinson, yeah. I just talked about TJ Hawkinson. There's some things I definitely got wrong on week 1, but TJ Hawkinson was one of them I definitely got right. And DeAndre Swift did well. Him and Jamal Williams did split a lot. So if you look at targets, they both had, 22 for Swift and 18 for Jamal Williams for targets and touches. Or targets and rushes, I should say. So you're talking about some split there. Hawkinson, 8 for 97 and a touchdown. I said he could have 150, 160 targets. Well, he's at 10 targets, so that's pretty good pace. That's pretty good pace right now. I'm not going to go through the wide receivers because they don't matter in the Lions. I heard some places, some fantasy representatives, or some like very smart fantasy people talking about Amon-Ra St. Brown being a top 24 wide receiver, Tyrell Williams. I don't think it's going to be anybody. I really don't. I like Amon-Ra St. Brown the best out of everybody, but I honestly think it's going to be TJ Hawkinson. They're going to throw it to the running backs, and they're probably going to lose a lot of games. It's just going to happen. The shocker, Houston versus Jacksonville. Now, if at any time this video cuts out, it's because my battery died on my phone. So that's all you get. So Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. First regular season loss of his life. That's what you get, William Trevor. Carlos Hyde, 9 for 44. James Robinson, 5 for 25. I don't know why. I thought James Robinson was going to do good against the Houston Texans. They have a horrible rush defense. I don't know about that, so that's a good question. DJ Chark had 12 targets. And what would you think with 12 targets? What would you think the receptions would be? I mean, he had 3 receptions for 86 yards and a touchdown, so that was pretty poor. But Marvin Jones had 9 targets for 5 for 77 and a touchdown, and Chenault had 7 for 50, and then a bunch of basically tight ends that O'Shaughnessy and Manhurts that I don't believe in. So I think that's pretty much what we thought. So Tyrod Taylor had a better game than I thought he was going to have. 291 and 2 touchdowns. Very good. Mark Ingram, 26, 85 and a touchdown. Like, okay, I guess he's the RB1. Phil Lindsay, 8 for 25. I guess he's the backup. I would have put it the other way around. I'm still going to put Phil Lindsay as like, if I had somebody that I didn't need to start now and I wanted somebody down the road, I'm taking Phil Lindsay over Mark Ingram. I don't think that this can keep up. And he averaged 3.3 yards a carry. Phil Lindsay only averaged 3.1, but Brandy Cook, 7 targets, 5 receptions, 132 by Brandon Cooks. I can't believe he's been this underrated. Brown, tight end, 4 catches for 67 yards. I'm not going to touch him within football, but if you want to, go for it. No one else is needed on that one. All right, Minnesota versus Cincinnati. This one I know dear to my heart. Dalvin Cook did not fumble that ball. I'm just saying. He did not in overtime. It was pretty clear. And what I don't get, and I watched a couple of games that I thought the refereeing was very suspect. Kansas City versus Cleveland. Cleveland player hits the coach in the chest area, and they throw a flag on the coach. I understand that the coach was just trying to not have his player get stepped on, But then it takes them like 2 minutes to review it, or they don't even review it. Basically, they talk, and I think New York was like, hey, like, you got to eject this player. Justin Jefferson easily has a touchdown. They don't have pylon cams because apparently the NFL's too poor. I don't know what's going on. Like, come on, seems like $1 billion industry, but you don't have goal line. You don't have a goal line cam on each goal line. You don't have a goal line cam, like a straight on. Like, what is this? The 14th century? That's just my little rant. Anyways, Cousins, 351 and 2. Fantasy better than what he actually did. This is what you're going to get with him sometimes. Cook, 20 for 61 and a touchdown. He's also one of the best. He had 6 for 43. You're going to get 100 yards and a touchdown out of him pretty much every game. And this is what he does. Adam Thielen, 9 for 92 and 2 touchdowns. He's a touchdown magnet. He really is. Justin Jefferson, 5 for 71. Should have had a touchdown, but it was taken away. And what I say about tight ends, don't touch a tight end. Conklin, 4 for 41. Herndon, non-existent. I said Herndon, but I said if you pick anybody, pick Herndon because he at least has a little bit of talent. Conklin's okay, but not my guy. Burrow, 261 and 2. Mixon had a game. I mean, he averaged 4.4 yards a carry. They really went through Mixon. 29 carries, 127 and 1. So he had a really good game. Jamar Chase, 5 for 101 in touchdowns. He had actually technically the best statistical rookie season. I know compared to Devontae Smith earlier, but T. Higgins, 4 for 58 and a touchdown. And Tyler Boyd just not really used as much. I watched the game. It was basically Higgins and Chase. And Chase basically slant and fade. And so if they can't stop the slant and fade, which is kind of a DJ Moore special, then keep doing it. So, I mean, he did it in college and he got 20 touchdowns. So I thought, Chase looked non-existent almost in the first half. And then at the end of the first half, he really started picking it up and made a couple okay plays. I'm not a Chase hater, but I mean, it was a pretty good game out of Chase. I will say that out of the first things. Saints, Green Bay, don't even worry about it. Aaron Jones had 5 rushes for 9 yards. Dylan had 4 for 19. It was not a good game. Davante Adams had 5 for 56 in targets. Everyone else did not do good. Scantling had 8 targets, but he had 3 for 17. Stop targeting Scantling. Winston, 14 for 20, for 148 and 5 touchdowns. That's not going to keep up. But Kamara did Kamara things. Not Tyson. Why am I blanking? It's not Tyson. Tyson Williams. Something Jones. Why can I not think of his name? Whatever. Is it Tyson Jones? No. I can't think of his name. Jones. For the Saints. Clear back up. Actually, it looked pretty good. I feel like he's going to be Latavius Murray role. You're going to see him at the end of the season. It's going to be like RB32, RB34. It's going to be an okay flex play at certain times. He's going to fall into the end zone a couple of these days, but with here in the red zone, it's going to be Kamara. Who do you want in fantasy? Do you want Marquez Callaway? And 1 for 14? You're just going to have these games where I don't even know what to say here. You just have all these random people scoring. It's not random people. It's just, I was not a big Marquez Callaway fan. I could be wrong, but week 1, I think I won that one. Something I did not win was the Melvin Gordon versus Javonte Williams because if you think about it, one 70-yard run really can change some stuff, and it did because Melvin Gordon had 10 rushes for 41 yards, and now he's 11 for 101, which is a huge change. But Javonte Williams actually had more rushes, and they were tied at 11-11. But Javonte Williams had 14 rushes for 45 yards. Javonte Williams, I think, is going to be the better running back here very, very soon. Judy, 6 for 72. Bad high ankle sprain. Out for probably half the year. So you look at week 9, 10, somewhere around there. Unfortunate, droppable at this point. Noah Fant had an 8 for 62. That's going to be a Noah Fant game. KJ Hamler dropped the deep ball, 3 for 41. That's going to be a KJ Hamler day. Tim Patrick, is he back? Guess who's back? Fitzpatrick's back. Probably. I mean, he's probably going to have an okay game here and there, and he's probably going to be the wide receiver too. And then you're going to have Cortland Sutton, 1 for 14. He's going to have much better games. Buy low on Cortland Sutton. That's all I got to say. All right, Daniel Jones, 267, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Kind of disappointed. He should have threw an interception. I mean, I feel like that's a non-Daniel Jones game. But 10 for 26 for Barkley. Man, Barkley's not looking. He's starting off really slow. So we got Shepard, Slayton, Galladay. Shepard with 7 for 113, Slayton for 365, and Galladay for 4 for 64. I would put Galladay still as wide receiver 1 there, and just know that where's Kadarius Toney? 2 for -2. Yeah, it's kind of what you're gonna get. The jackal. Remember, jackal, kind of a position that is not a position. It's the first yard position. All right, we're at 35 minutes. Man, I gotta speed up on some stuff here. Let's see, I just want to see. Okay, we got. Nope, clicked the wrong game. All right, we're going to go Cleveland through Kansas City. What would you like to know about Cleveland versus Kansas City? Baker at 321, 0 touchdowns. A little disappointing, but when you have 4 touchdowns on the ground, 1 by Landry, 1 by Hunt, 2 by Chubb, it's going to happen. He'll have much better touchdown fantasy games. 13.6 points, not a great fantasy game, but, I mean, he did a lot better. Njoku looked actually like a decent tight end. Anthony Schwartz, I could be wrong on him. I just said he was pure speed and wasn't a great football player. I could be wrong on him. I could be. Nick Chubb, one of the best running backs in the league, by far. Like he seems to impress me. And then Kareem Hunt, 6 for 33, 3 for 28, and a touchdown. That kind of sounds like a Kareem Huntish game. It does with the Browns, not a Chiefs. Kareem Hunt. Pat Mahomes doing Pat Mahomes thing. Let's just go through Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 14 for 43. Disappointing. I mean, it really was. They didn't rush much. They were down in this game. He had 3 for 29. You're talking about 70 yards basically total. 3 targets, caught all of them. It was the Tyreek Hill 15 targets, 11 for 197 and a touchdown game, and Kelsey 6 for 76 and 2 touchdowns. Does that not sound like every other game that they've basically played? We got 2 more games. All right, Dolphins versus Patriots. I think I'm gonna find an easier way to do this so it's not 40 minutes long. But for now, it's 40 minutes long. Tua, 202, 1-1. Made some bad decisions in there. Tua looked kind of rusty and shaky. Did not look great. Gaskins, 9 for 49. Brown, 5 for 16. They didn't rush it. I think this is a little bit of a buy or low when you're talking about Myles Gaskin. Devontae Parker, 4 for 81. Jalen Waddle, 4 for 61 and a touchdown. Hey, that's nice. Gaskin did have 5 targets. Gesicki, Goose. I'm just done with Gesicki. I'm just done dealing with Gesicki. I know that he could break out, but I'm just done with it. I'm officially OJ Howarding him. Yeah. Just done with him. Like I said, Gaskin's going to have better games. He had like 70 yards total, something like that. So it's going to be Parker and Waddle. So I think those are actually decent plays that you're going to have, and you're going to have a little less yardage maybe with Tua, but I think it's not going to be bad. I mean, Mac Jones, 29 for 39, 281. Like, hey, look at it. That's not bad. Damien Harris, 23 for 100. One of my buy low sleepers. Nelson Aguilar, 5 for 72 and a touchdown. Not bad. A guy that I actually like. Jacoby Myers, 6 for 44, who I thought was the true number 1. Still had more targets, had 9. Nelson Aguilar only had 7, so we'll see how that goes. James White still being a pest. And Johnny Smith, 5 for 42. Hunter Henry, 3 for 31. So far, week 1, they're not looking like Gronk and Aaron, but that is, I guess, to be proven. Right now, a lot of my week 1 went really well in my favor. I will say, week 1 went super well in my favor. I'm not going to guarantee that this is all going to happen like this. I need to write down all my things I do right and wrong, but I would say week 1 was a really good general win. I won in almost all my leagues. I think I lost in a league or two. But it happens. I won in majority of my leagues. And I made a bad mistake in one of them that I don't want to talk about right now. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe I'll talk about it tomorrow. Andy Dalton, I don't know what you expected. David Montgomery, he looked pretty good. I would buy low on David Montgomery right now. I think this is going to be a really good season with David Montgomery, and I think Andy Dalton is going to be gone here soon. You're going to have Justin Fields. I think David Montgomery is going to be even better. He looked really good against the Rams defense that is excellent. By David Montgomery. I'm telling you, he's low right now, and I could be wrong, but I liked what I saw. Cole Kmet, 5 for 42, really liked that. Goodwin being a 4 for 45, leading, I guess. Robinson, 11 targets, 6 for 35. Once he's going to be better. It just so happened. Him and Mooney both kind of got targeted a bunch, didn't get a bunch of yards. Not a great yardage game for them. Rams, Darrell Henderson, 16 for 70. It's what you kind of expected. Matthew Stafford, excellent. Kupp, good. Higbee, I really like the Higbee. I mean, Higbee was a buy low tight end I really, really liked versus even the Gesicki's and the Tanyans and stuff. I wanted Higbee because I liked that he was there without Everett. Woods, though, shocked about Woods. 3 for 27, only 4 targets, and he did have a touchdown. He did have a rush. This does concern me a little bit, that he was just not targeted as much. We'll see. There was only 20 completions, so when you only, I guess you'd say 26 attempts, and yeah, he had 4 of the 26 attempts, so he had a 16% target share or whatever that is, maybe 15. Just does concern me. So let's. No, I'm not gonna do the Monday night game. Not gonna do the. It's already 41 minutes. So again, if you're wanting to know about the tickets, the Vikings tickets, there's 2. If you have a significant other, I'm planning on bringing my wife to the game as well. So if you want to be a part of the game and meet me and a couple of other dads, comment down below, and we'll figure a way of who we're going to pick to give those tickets to help come to the game with us. All right? October 10th is the game. I have no idea even who we play October 10th, but we're playing somebody, and we're going to have some fun at the game. All right? Vikings game. So let me know. Comment below if you want to be a part of the game. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace out. See you tomorrow.
Now turn up.